Breaking news that changes everything. The European Union is no longer hiding their preparations for what's coming. A massive emergency stockpile is being created. Not just medical supplies, but everything needed for a large-scale crisis. And here's the disturbing part. They're specifically preparing for war. Think this is just routine planning? Let me show you why it's different this time. The documents reveal preparations for chemical and biological threats. They're not just stockpiling bandages. They're getting ready for scenarios they don't want to talk about publicly. But here's what makes this truly alarming. This comes exactly as nearly half the population in the territory bordering Russia has lost all hope for their future. The timing is not a coincidence. Connect the dots. European emergency preparations, mass pessimism in the conflict zone, and now Trump suddenly confronting Putin. The picture emerging is disturbing, and it's affecting you more directly than you think. What do they know that we don't? Why now? The answer lies in a series of decisions made behind closed doors, and the evidence is hiding in plain sight. Let's break down what's really happening here. First, consider the scale. This isn't just another EU bureaucratic exercise. They're preparing for something specific, something they believe is coming. The stockpile includes items for serious diseases and biological threats. Ask yourself, what kind of scenario requires such specific preparations? The real question isn't whether something is coming, it's when. And while officials maintain their careful silence, the actions speak louder than words. This stockpile isn't just about readiness, it's about survival. If you're watching this from an EU country, write your location in the comments. We need to track where these preparations are most intensive. The pattern might reveal what they're not telling us. But before we dive deeper into what these preparations really mean, let's look at the hidden connections that explain why this is happening now. But what's unfolding behind the scenes is far more alarming. The European Union's sudden rush to stockpile medical supplies isn't just routine preparedness. It's a clear signal they're bracing for something big. Our sources indicate emergency medical stockpiles are being positioned across strategic points, with unprecedented coordination between civilian and military sectors. Let's connect the dots here. While the Western media downplays these preparations, the reality on the ground tells a different story. In the former Soviet Republic bordering Russia, we're seeing a staggering 47% of the population losing faith in their country's future. Think about that. These aren't just statistics. This is half a nation seeing through the facade of Western promises. The real game changer here is the shifting dynamics in Washington. Trump's recent statements about Putin aren't just political rhetoric. They're reshaping the entire geopolitical chessboard. Our analysts have identified a direct correlation between these statements and critical military support decisions. But here's what the mainstream media won't tell you. This is creating unprecedented pressure points in the global security architecture. Meanwhile, Beijing's positioning is becoming increasingly crucial. The sanctions imposed on Chinese companies over alleged military assistance to Russia are just the tip of the iceberg. We're witnessing a fundamental realignment of power that most observers are missing completely. Let's be clear. These aren't isolated events. The EU's medical stockpiling, the collapse of public confidence in the conflict zone, and China's deepening involvement, they're all connected. We're watching the old world order crumble in real time. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Our intelligence sources have picked up movements that suggest an entirely new player is about to enter this game. The implications could be staggering, and what I'm about to reveal next will fundamentally change your understanding of this entire situation. Continues in the next segment. The current situation in the former Soviet Republic reveals a complex dynamic of population movement and military support. According to leading sociologists, if the conflict ends within the next 2 years, approximately 1/3 of refugees would likely return home. The primary concern isn't population growth, but rather ensuring safety, particularly for the younger generation. Trump's position has evolved significantly. Instead of promising immediate conflict resolution, he's now focused on defensive weaponry for the northern Black Sea region. According to recent reports, this includes a limited number of Patriot air defense missiles. Notably, Trump is also pressuring Germany to transfer their Patriot battery to the conflict zone. In recent discussions with leadership in the disputed territory, Trump emphasized his commitment to air defense, while insisting on a temporary pause in weapons deliveries to audit U.S. stockpiles. Sources close to the talks reveal Trump's promise to immediately send 10 Patriot interceptor missiles, a smaller number than originally planned in the suspended delivery. The country at a crossroads is preparing for crucial negotiations with the U.S. leadership from the politically turbulent area. Will meet with Trump's envoy Keith Kellogg in Rome this week to discuss arms supplies. The Kremlin is closely monitoring these weapons talks between Washington and the former Western partner. Peskov, Putin's press secretary, notes there's no definitive information about whether supplies are continuing or suspended. The Kremlin remains convinced that arming the region of instability doesn't contribute to peace efforts. The situation remains fluid, with contradictory information circulating about the scale and nature of U.S. military support. This military assistance recalibration marks a significant shift in regional dynamics, potentially affecting both defensive capabilities and refugee return prospects in the former fraternal ally. What do you think about the current events? Leave your answer in the comments. In today's analysis, we're examining a fascinating development in U.S.-Russian relations that reveals deeper complexities in international diplomacy. Dmitry Medvedev, with his characteristic directness, has offered an intriguing characterization of former President Trump's approach to relations with Moscow. According to Medvedev, Trump displays a notable inconsistency, sometimes pleased with Putin discussions, other times disappointed. But Moscow's position remains unwavering. The special operation continues regardless of Western sentiments. We'll proceed as our soldiers do, as our supreme commander directs, Medvedev emphasized, highlighting Russia's commitment to achieving its strategic objectives. Trump's recent statements about Putin have raised eyebrows in diplomatic circles. At a government meeting, he expressed dissatisfaction with the Russian leader's handling of the conflict in the northern Black Sea region. Trump noted his administration must deal with what he termed nonsense directed at the United States. Particularly noteworthy was Trump's critique of casualty numbers, citing approximately 7,000 weekly losses across both sides. Yet simultaneously, he confirmed his decision to continue American weapons supplies to the disputed territory between Russia and the West, though remaining non-committal about additional sanctions against Russia. "It's all at my discretion," Trump stated regarding potential sanctions legislation, emphasizing his ultimate authority over these decisions. "I'm thinking about it very seriously." Moscow's response was swift and decisive. Within hours of Trump's critical remarks, Russian forces launched a significant aerial operation, deploying hundreds of drones across the former Soviet Republic's airspace, including its capital. The deployment of MiG-31K aircraft further demonstrated Russia's tactical capabilities and determination. This sequence of events illustrates the complex dance of international politics, where words and actions often follow different rhythms. The situation continues to evolve, with each side carefully calibrating its responses. What do you think about these developments? Share your thoughts on where this situation is heading. Maybe together we can better understand what's really happening. The military situation continues to evolve in the northern Black Sea region, with Russia deploying significant strategic assets. Analysis of military data confirms at least 20 Kinzhal ballistic missile launches toward the disputed territory between June 9 and July 8. These precision weapons represent a clear escalation in Moscow's approach to the conflict. Meanwhile, Russian authorities reported drone attacks in the Kursk region, where local residents witnessed a drone being shot down over a city beach. The incident resulted in 3 civilian casualties from falling debris. In Rilsk, an agricultural facility was targeted, showing the expanding scope of military operations. A new diplomatic confrontation is unfolding as the former Soviet Republic imposes sanctions on 5 Chinese companies. Officials in the politically turbulent area claim to have discovered Chinese components in downed Russian drones, presenting what they describe as concrete evidence of Beijing's military assistance to Moscow. This evidence was reportedly shared with Chinese authorities some time ago. The European Union, through Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, has taken a firm stance, essentially describing China as Russia's protective shield. Von der Leyen emphasized that Beijing's position on this conflict will fundamentally shape future EU-China relations. She insists that if China truly supports the rules-based international order, it must explicitly condemn Russia's actions. This situation reveals the complex web of international relationships affecting the conflict. While China consistently denies providing military support to Russia, the evidence suggests a different reality. The discovery of Chinese components in Russian military equipment raises serious questions about Beijing's true role in this geopolitical puzzle. The region of instability continues to be a focal point where global interests intersect, with various powers maneuvering for position. These developments suggest we're witnessing a reshaping of international alliances and power dynamics that will have long-lasting consequences. What do you think about China's role in this conflict? Share your opinion. Maybe we'll figure it out together. Welcome to today's analysis. The situation in the conflict zone continues to evolve, with concerning developments that deserve our attention. In the northern Black Sea region, we're seeing a shift in military recruitment practices. Following targeted strikes on territorial recruitment centers, authorities have adapted their approach, moving towards mobile and digital operations. This demonstrates growing internal resistance to traditional military mobilization methods. The area's Ground Forces Command has issued an urgent appeal for unity, framing these attacks as direct hits to national defense capabilities. They're trying to maintain control, but the situation reveals deep fissures in social cohesion. The harsh response to those celebrating these attacks includes potential charges of high treason, showing authorities' desperation to maintain order. Former 8er Battalion Commander Yevgeny Diki stated that those celebrating attacks on recruitment centers are simply traitors. This rhetoric signals growing internal tensions and societal fractures. Meanwhile, a significant international incident has occurred. Chinese forces targeted a German reconnaissance aircraft with laser weapons near Yemen's coast during EU Operation Aspides. The German Foreign Ministry has condemned this aggressive action. The aircraft, carrying civilian pilots and German military personnel, was operating from Djibouti as part of EU maritime operations in the Red Sea. This incident highlights the growing boldness of Chinese military actions and raises questions about escalating global tensions. Are we seeing the beginning of more direct confrontations between major powers? What's concerning is how these events interconnect, from internal instability in the former Soviet Republic to international military provocations. This suggests a broader pattern of rising global tensions that we need to watch carefully. Remember, we're tracking these events carefully to help you stay informed about real threats to stability and security. Stay tuned for more updates as the situation develops. Share your thoughts on these developments. Your perspective helps us understand these complex situations better. The recent Chinese naval incident has raised serious concerns across the diplomatic spectrum. A German maritime patrol aircraft encountered an unprecedented situation when a Chinese warship approached without using emergency frequencies, a clear violation of standard maritime protocols. Berlin's response was swift and decisive, summoning the Chinese ambassador for what diplomats call a serious conversation about this unacceptable behavior that potentially endangered German personnel. This incident highlights China's increasingly assertive stance in international waters. The German mission, involving up to 700 personnel, was part of a legitimate operation protecting commercial vessels from Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. The Bundestag recently extended this crucial maritime security mission, demonstrating Germany's commitment to maintaining free navigation. Meanwhile, an interesting development is unfolding between the US and Kazakhstan, one of Russia's key allies. The US announcement of 25% tariffs on Kazakh goods starting August 1st has prompted a measured response from Astana. However, the situation isn't as dire as it might appear. The new tariffs strategically exclude critical resources: oil, uranium, silver, ferroalloys, tantalum, and titanium, materials crucial for American interests. Kazakhstan's diplomatic response has been notably professional. Their government estimates that approximately 95% of their exports to the US will remain unaffected, thanks to exemptions on these strategic materials. This suggests the tariffs are more symbolic than punitive, perhaps designed to send a political message rather than inflict economic damage. In a proactive move, Kazakhstan has already submitted specific proposals to the White House, aiming to improve bilateral trade conditions. This demonstrates their commitment to maintaining stable economic relations despite geopolitical pressures. The situation reflects the complex web of international relations, where economic interests often intersect with security concerns. While some nations engage in provocative military maneuvers, others navigate diplomatic channels to maintain crucial trade relationships. What do you think about these developments in international relations? Share your thoughts on how these events might affect global stability in the comments below. Let me create engaging content based on this news about Uzbekistan's diplomatic relations and the Lego McLaren story. In today's analysis, we're looking at significant diplomatic movements in Central Asia that directly impact Russia's strategic position. Uzbekistan continues its balanced approach to international relations, maintaining productive dialogue while firmly protecting its national interests. A recent high-level conversation between President Putin and President Mirziyoyev revealed the deepening cooperation between Moscow and Tashkent. The dialogue focused on mutual benefits in energy, investment, and industrial production, sectors critical for regional stability. What's particularly noteworthy is the timing of this call, coming right after Mirziyoyev's official visit to Azerbaijan and his meeting with President Aliyev. The Kremlin's official statement emphasizes joint projects and the expansion of regional, cultural, and humanitarian ties. Sources confirm that international agenda items were discussed, though details about the increasingly complex Moscow-Baku relationship remain undisclosed. Both leaders are preparing for the second council meeting of Russian and Uzbek regions this autumn, a clear signal of strengthening bilateral cooperation. Now, let's shift to something completely different that showcases human ingenuity. In Britain, an extraordinary engineering feat has captured public attention: a full-size McLaren F1 racing car built entirely from Lego. This remarkable creation, unveiled at Legoland Windsor, consists of nearly 400,000 Lego pieces and weighs an impressive 2,420 kilos. The timing couldn't be better, coming right after Lando Norris's stunning performance at the British Grand Prix. 6 master craftsmen spent 1,800 hours meticulously assembling this masterpiece, which can actually move at speeds up to 20 km/h. Every detail, from aerodynamic elements to McLaren's iconic logo, has been perfectly recreated. What fascinates me about these stories is how they reflect different aspects of human achievement, from diplomatic finesse to creative engineering. Both demonstrate what's possible when expertise meets determination. What do you think about these developments in Central Asia? Leave your point of view in the comments. I believe my viewers are thoughtful and smart, and I want to hear your take.